Welcome back. As we earlier said, we're going to be talking about the mega projects. We're going to be taking a full review over 2021 leap when it comes to the mega projects and national projects and its impact over national security and, of course, investment and economy in general. Our economic boom have ever started earlier, like 6 years ago. It took us only a few years to be able to establish what we're seeing right now. In short, we're going to be taking a review over the mega projects, the national projects that were taken in 2021, and we're very delighted to be having with us here Major General Mohamed Shahawy. He is a Chemical Warfare Advisor at Command and Staff College and member of ECFA and a Goodwill Ambassador. Good morning, Major General Shahawy. How are you doing? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year for you and all the Egyptian people.
Thank you so much. Our pleasure. Let us first talk about less than 7 years and all those mega projects.
Yes.
The whole world are watching us in amazement. And of course, they're keeping an eye on what's going on. Let us start off by the foundation projects that were erected earlier in 2021 and were executed in very little time, of course, according to directives of the President.
First, it is such an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be in this program, Breakfast Show. And here I want to shed a light about the achievements of the mega projects and also the inaugurating projects by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of Republic, and the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces in some projects in Upper Egypt. We know that the state of June 30th put the development of Upper Egypt at the top of its priority, especially Upper Egypt for decades suffers from marginalization and the deterioration of the levels of living condition. And these projects put redrawing a map for Egypt and what we call achieved the principle of social justice. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi spent a whole week inaugurating a mega project in Upper Egypt and governorates. And these governorates of Upper Egypt have 38 million citizens, according to the statistics of the Central Agency of the Public Mobilizations and Statistics. And they say these governorates have and also rich in youth and resources. For that reason, I want to talk especially for Upper Egypt because we know that the week spent by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was from 22nd of December until Wednesday, and he inaugurated a lot of projects in bridges or access over the Niles, and also roads. And we know that the roads here, Egypt jumped 90 ranks of the safe and the goodness of the road from the rank 118 to rank 28. And I want to say Egypt made a lot of projects for our Upper Egypt, especially since 7 years only.
Right, but we're going to be touching about the rest of the projects. Let's in particular talk about the Upper Egypt projects. Should we be calling 2021 the year for Upper Egypt boom? Because we all know the importance, strategic importance of Upper Egypt, the historical importance, the cultural importance of Upper Egypt to investment and also to our economic boom. How do you assess the importance of the projects that were taken to upgrade the Upper Egypt? Maybe we say infrastructure projects, industrial projects, housing projects.
I think this is very good questions, Ms. Dina. And I want to say the projects that have been achieved in Upper Egypt for 7 years only costs 1 trillion and 100 billion pounds instead of 900 billion for 30 years. And we wanted to compare between these two numbers, 1 trillion and 100 billion. On the other hand, 900 billion, so only in 30 years. And very important thing I wanted to shed a light about it is what we call about we benefit from our resources in Upper Egypt, especially what we call in economics the debt capital. What's the meaning of debt capital? We know that some non-economic resources such as sun in summer and wind in winter. Egypt and the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi make a lot of largest solar power plant at Binban in Aswan, which have been costed a lot, costed maybe 1 trillion pound. Why? Because he benefit from the sun to change and transfer Egypt from suffering from electricity in 2013 and 2014 to have a surplus and export it to many countries.
Exactly.
In the north and the south, and to Saudi Arabia, to Libya. So this is very important to benefit from our non-economic resources such as sun and wind. And also when I want to take about the wind, also Egypt made a largest wind power plant in Jabal Zayt in Red Sea governorates. Also, for that reason, these projects made and reward and redraw a new map for Egypt and achieve what we call about social justice, because in the last periods, most of the projects accomplished at Cairo, Alexandria, Giza, not Upper Egypt, not in Sinai. But nowadays, we found that 1 trillion and 1 billion pounds accomplished at and costed for project in Upper Egypt. For that reason, I see that this make the improve the living conditions of the citizens of Upper Egypt. Also, it decrease unemployment opportunities for the youth, especially Upper Egypt has 50% of youth. And Egypt has a lot. It consists of 50% of the
that's very nice that you focused over the idea that not only the Egyptian administration have succeeded in implementing mega projects, very successful infrastructural projects and industrial projects in 2021 and earlier before 2021, but at the same time, most importantly, the Egyptian administration, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, under his leadership, of course, have succeeded in creating from Egypt or transforming Egypt into the whole of Egypt, not only the capital, not only one part, central part, but the whole of Egypt into an industrial and an economic hub for the Arab world and the whole world in general. Because of the mega projects that were implemented outside Cairo, like you said, in Upper Egypt, in the 1.5 million Fadan and other places in Sinai. And, you know, this is the first time that this has been effected in Egypt. And also the infrastructure projects together with the bridges that will fortify investment and opportunities for job force.
I think to secure the national security, we have to build all the projects in all parts of the Egypt, not restricted in a special area.
And this is what's happening.
And this is very important to secure the national security for that reasons. And I want to say that there are some messages from this development project and the service. We know the first message is the strength of the state is achieved when the national economy is good. So we build economy, because economy and the military, it is the same. When you are strong in economy, you have to be strong in military to save this economy. And also, the process of development spends more than 4.4 trillion pounds to create millions of opportunities and thousands of civil companies, which it have what we call about 2 million engineers and technicians and workers working in it. And also, all these companies workers on all fields, especially universities, routes, as you say, and access over the Niles in Upper Egypt, which is positively reflected in the performance of the Egyptian economy. And also, according to International Assessment Institution, he said that there are a decrease in unemployment level, decrease in budget deficit, and also increase in cash reserve of hard currency. It reaches now above or more than 42 billions, and also decrease in inflation, and the rate of economic growth was increased to 5.4%. This is indicator reflects the good economy of Egypt.
Right. Where do we see the role of the private sector in this particular image or scene? Of course, these are 100% Egyptian source made projects.
Yes.
I mean, for the first time also in our history, that all these projects are effected and executed by Egyptians, by Egyptian money, and also providing work for the Egyptians. So where do we see the private sector here? And how do they share in developing Egypt and enforcing and empowering Egypt towards developmental process?
I think the modern strategy in managing the Egyptian economy is to concentrate on encouraging foreign investment, this is very, especially in modern technology, and also the participations of the private sectors in construction and development projects in all fields, industry, agriculture, roads, and also they participate in establishing the largest solar power plant at Binban, the private sectors. We know that we have 4,000 private and civil companies working under the authority of the engineering authority of the armed forces, which monitor, supervise, plan, and also receives the work from it. And I wanted to say that the armed forces don't have companies to work on all these projects, but the engineering authority of the armed forces only supervise and monitor, and also plan for it, and receives the work from these projects. So the private sector is the second hand for the state to accomplish all these national projects. Without private sector, we will not succeed in accomplishing these projects. For that reasons, I think the private sector has a lot of rules and a lot of works in all fields of Egypt and all sectors of Egypt. In Sinai they work, in Upper Egypt also they work, and in Cairo and in any governorate. So this is a very important role for private sector. Not one, there is no one don't want the private sector to work. It is the benefit for the national security, because the private sectors have a lot of engineers and technicians and workers and the families. So there is a merge, there is a cooperation, there is a participation of the private sectors to manage and to accomplish and to execute many or a lot of mega projects.
Right. We can understand very much that those mega projects have affected in eliminating, almost eradicating the layoffs that were made in the workforce and have provided job opportunities for Egyptians. But most importantly, it have boosted the foreign investment and investors to have their eyes set back once again over Egypt.
Yes.
I mean, Egypt have been retaining its leading role as an industrial hub, like I earlier said. How far that these projects been able to intensify and attract the foreign investment back to Egypt?
I think the state made a lot of things and incentives for the foreign investors. First, the environment of investment in Egypt here is very good. Second thing is the infrastructures in electricity. We know that in 2013, there is a shortage, there is a decrease of electricity all over Egypt. And sometimes the periods extend to or belong to more than 10 hours. There is no electricity. But now, because the infrastructures of electricity we spend more than £1 trillion to in electricity. For that reasons, we have a surplus. We have surplus to export to many countries. Also, the safety and secure of the state. We know that the armed forces eradicated terrorism and exerts a lot of efforts on terrorism. For that reason, when the environment, when the state, when Sinai, when every region in Egypt is safe, I think the foreign investors, they will come. For that reason, the environment of investment, the safety of the state, and also about the infrastructure, especially roads. We know that in roads, Egypt lived or jumped 90 ranks in the goodness of the and the safe of roads. For that reason, I think the environment is able to attract the foreign investor. And this is the modern strategy of Egypt, to attract foreign investors to participate, to let the private sector participate in doing and in working in all the in all projects. And I want here to shed about the safety and the security of Egypt from the Egypt International Exhibitions for Defense and Military Industries, EDEX 22, that was accomplished in November last year. For that reason, these exhibitions give us a lot of message. The first message is Egypt is safe and secure because more than 42 countries come and 400 military companies come here to produce its products here. For that reason, I think the environment is able and is attracting the foreign investors, and the state exert and made a lot of efforts to make the environment is able to attract the foreign investors.
Let us also shed light over the economic and social importance of establishing industries here in Egypt, which is starting, which was laid, the foundation was already being impacted, and now we are taking our natural course to effect an empire of industries here in Egypt. How important is developing with that empire to attract foreign investment and other things also? Talk to us about the importance of industry.
I think the development strategy of Egypt is to invest in all fields: industry, agriculture, facilitate the living conditions of the, improving the living conditions of the people, of the citizens. For that reason, so we know that the second stage, after farming and after agriculture, we have to move to industry. And we know that now we have a new branch of economy called what we call knowledge economy or the new economy. New economy is depends on the knowledge in artificial intelligence, applications, and also
digitalization in general.
In this field. For that reason, so when Egypt invest in the industry, we know that one important project that the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated last month in December was one important plant for fertilizers in Aswan, called it Kima Aswan. For that reason, industry is very important, and the industry very important to agriculture, to create a lot of job opportunity, to make the happiness of the people who work
and to effect self-sufficiency also.
And also we have about this very important point you said about it. The fertilizer is very important for the cultivation and agriculture. For that reason, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated what we call about Tushka Desert, and they turned it to green areas. These green areas, by cultivating more than 500,000 fiddles. For that reason, and this has costed 300 billion pounds to make this desert a green land. Why? To product and make what we call Egyptians food shortage. It can satisfy local markets from vegetables and fruit, and also the wheat bill, the wheat import bill, it decreased to quarter. For that reason, it is very important to make self-satisfactions in this and self-satisfactions in this field, especially wheat, because Egypt is the first country in the world imported a lot of wheat. For when we cultivate wheat in Toshka, it is very good to decrease the imported amount to quarter, and this is very good important point.
Right, and also we need to talk about the role of entrepreneurs.
Yes, I think entrepreneurship, it is considered a modern project. And I want to say there are more than 582 million entrepreneurs in all the world, meaning that from each 13, one, it has own project. And the entrepreneurs, it helps to driving the economy of any country. And in this subject, I want to say entrepreneurship means that each one has its own project, develop it, make it grow, and also we have to put into account the financial risks associated with it. For that reason, you have many forms of entrepreneurs. The first one is small entrepreneurship and large or big entrepreneurship, and what we call social entrepreneurs. For that reason, so when someone invests in building schools for education, hospital for health, I think this is what we call about entrepreneurship. And this is very important as a driving for the economy of the... and I wanted to say something, Ms. Dina, that we talk about the private sector, and this is what we call about civil society. And the civil society and the third sectors and what we call about social capital, this is very important.
Very important.
Very important to enhance the economy.
Thank you for raising that particular point.
Of the country.
Of course. That's a very important note. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. And on that very important note, we're going to be ending it here with you, Major General Mohamed Shahawy. You're a chemical warfare advisor at the Command and Staff College, and also a member of ECFA and Goodwill Ambassador. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for you and for
New Year.
our audience to let me the opportunity to shed a light about the achievement of the mega project that inaugurated last week in Egypt, in Upper Egypt.
It was our pleasure having you, sir. And now we're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the breakfast show, so stay with us.